So, good afternoon, everyone. Pleased to be with you all again today. Also pleased to report that today there are certainly signs of hope as we continue to battle this COVID-19 pandemic, of course, which has affected so many of us so deeply. This time last year, I began holding multiple COVID-19 video updates each week, and we also included written updates. And continue to promise, as I had from the beginning, that if we stay together, stay calm, and stay patient, and watch out for one another, we would get through this public health crisis together. Today, I'm proud to say that we've made great progress in our fight. For example, in the last 24 hours, we haven't had one single COVID-19 positive case in the city. That may not sound like a big deal or a lot to some people, but I believe that we should celebrate every victory, particularly in this instance. I have a little bit more good news to report also. First, we continue to offer our COVID-19 testing at the Gary Health Department, and you simply have to contact the Health Department for information, and they'll get you scheduled and certainly administer any test relative to COVID that we need. You can also get tested for free at the Gary Neighborhood Services Center. And again, I encourage you to reach out to the Health Department or either Neighborhood Services Center to get information relative to that. Another sign is that we're making significant progress on the vaccination program. We are at the point where anyone that's 50 years or older can actually receive a vaccination. Our health department is actually offering them on Saturdays, and we're working with the state of Indiana to provide a mass vaccination site at Holy Angel Cathedral, or actually it'll be in the gymnasium here fairly soon. Those appointments will be, or those vaccination opportunities will be by appointment only, and to reserve your spot, you need to visit ourshot.in.gov. Before I bring up Dr. Walker, our health commissioner, for his update, I want to also announce that there will be a mass vaccination opportunity at Calumet High School this Saturday, or next Saturday rather, March the 20th at 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And once again on Sunday, March the 21st from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. To access or to get registered for that, you simply dial 211 and they'll guide you through the prompts to make sure that you have the opportunity to receive vaccinations for yourself, and again, that includes anyone who's 50 or over. So at this particular time, I'd like to bring up Dr. Walker, who's prepared to give some more information, more detailed information certainly, and specific information relative to our fight with COVID-19. Dr. Walker?
So good afternoon, everybody. It actually has been a year now since we started doing these updates, and I want to thank the citizens of Gary for allowing me to speak to you. Obviously, Mayor Prince, who's just been wonderful working with him, trying to fight this COVID virus. I think that in Gary we've done a fantastic job. I want to thank the employees at the Health Department in Gary, Indiana, particularly our public health nurse, who I'm not sure what we'd do without her, so we're so appreciative to Shirley Borum, and our executive director, Ms. Veronica Collins-Ellis. Also, I wanted to say thank you to our state health commissioner, Dr. Botts, who reached out to me recently, and I'll go into more of that in a moment. First, let's talk about the numbers for today, our COVID numbers. In Indiana now, we've had a total of 669,164 cases. So today in Indiana, there was 863 new positives. Total deaths totals 12,350. So new deaths in the state of Indiana is 16. In Lake County, we've had 48,838 total cases. Today, we're down to only 49 cases in Lake County. Total deaths was 894 in Lake County, and there was one new death in Lake County. The positivity rate is 4.2%. But the unique positivity rate, which is more important, so that's not a repeat of tests, is 8.8%. So that's still close to 10%, so we need to keep an eye on the positivity rate. Also noting that testing is down nationwide. So less people are getting tested, so obviously you're coming up with lower numbers. So we do encourage people to continue to get tested and not become lax. In the city of Gary now, we've had over 5,000 cases. We've had 5,123 cases of COVID. But the great news is in the last 24 hours, we have 0 cases to report, as the mayor told you. Unfortunately, we've had 147 deaths and 1 person in the city of Gary succumb to COVID over the last 24 hours. Our rolling average is now, rolling 7-day average is now 5. So we're averaging about 5 cases a day in the city of Gary. Overall, the city of Gary is doing pretty well. Most of our schools now have returned to some hybrid in-person schools, and they're still requiring masks. We absolutely recommend that schools require mask wearing. We recommend reduced volume of class size, and so the big debate amongst school openings is, should students be 3 feet apart or 6 feet apart? I continue to be an advocate for 6 feet apart for students. The city of Gary continues to have a mask mandate, and we ask that all bars, restaurants, and retail facilities remain at 50% capacity, and social distancing measures should be in place. And nothing has changed in terms of those recommendations. The mayor talked about testing. We have testing on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays at the Gary Health Department. That is a nasal swab antigen test. There's also a nasal swab antigen test at Gary Neighborhood Services. And then we offer rapid testing at the Hudson Campbell Center. Hudson Campbell is 455 Massachusetts Street, and the Gary Health Department is 1145 West 5th Avenue, and Gary Neighborhood Services is 300 West 21st Avenue. The big topic that everybody's talking about, obviously, is vaccinations. We want to remind you of 3 ways that you can get registered for vaccinations. One is the website for the state, ourshot.in.gov. That's OURSHOT.in.gov. The state offers help for those people who are not necessarily technologically savvy or don't have internet access, where you can dial 211. And the city of Gary, through a series of volunteers who we're very grateful for, is providing a telephone number, and that's 219-318-0675. I want to repeat that. That's 219-318-0675. As the mayor said before, we are offering vaccinations through the health department currently at 2 locations. And that one is 2 days a week currently. It's at Holy Angels Gym. That is 644 Tyler Street. And then in April, we add a 3rd day, so it'll be Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Currently, it's Mondays and Thursdays in the gymnasium at Holy Angels. And then on Saturdays, we return to the Gary Health Department. Now, here's the part where I want you guys to really pay close attention. We're going to have a mass vaccination event at Calumet High School, and that is where you are able to get the Johnson & Johnson vaccination. This is going to be the first time this is announced in large media. We've been able, I just got off of a conversation with the state where we were going to do 800 vaccinations. We're now going to do 1,700 vaccinations. I do know that 400 slots, they put it on the website yesterday, the website that I mentioned earlier, and 400 slots were already scooped up. So we want to make sure that our citizens have the opportunity to make sure that they get these vaccinations. It's going to be on Saturday and Sunday. It's going to be the Johnson & Johnson one-shot vaccination. On March 20th, it's going to be 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., and on March 21st, it's going to be 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. So I asked what would be considered a success in terms of considering bringing the mobile, this is the mobile van that's coming from Indianapolis, and what would be considered a success, where we can get the mobile van around other places in Gary, and they said 100% participation. So I took that as a challenge. Ladies and gentlemen, anybody who qualifies, you go to the website. So if you are 50 years or older, if you have some of the pre-existing conditions, or some of the professions that are involved that can get the vaccination, I beg of you, this is your opportunity. There are 1,300 slots available. We should be flooding the websites, the phone lines right now, trying to make sure that our Gary citizens are getting the vaccination. I say that because Gary has become a destination place in the state of Indiana for vaccinations. If you come down to the Gary Health Department, if you come to Holy, multiple people from downstate, we get people as far as the tip of the state, but if they're Indiana citizens, they can come get vaccinations here, so this has become a destination. So we want to make sure that we are taking these opportunities to use this. Once again, I caution everybody that we don't want to spike the ball on the 20-yard line. We want to get in the end zone. So even though our cases are down, we know that there are increasing numbers of variants that coming around that can avoid detection sometimes, or definitely can cause more severe illness. So we want to make sure that we get everybody vaccinated to get to herd immunity so that we can avoid having one of these variants take hold and sweep across the nation. So I appreciate your time. Once again, Gary Health Department, Holy Angels Gymnasium, and then at Calumet High School, make sure, oh, and don't forget also at Methodist Northlake Campus, those are the places within the city of Gary where you can receive vaccination. So you can, between those 3 locations, you can, if you have your choice for Moderna, Pfizer, or Johnson & Johnson. But I also advise, don't be choosy, get the first one you can get, but make sure you get your vaccination, and thank you for your time.
So, as always, thank you, Dr. Walker, and I'm certain that all the citizens thank you as well. Personally, I'm glad to know that the age restrictions have been loosened. As I told you from the beginning, when that occurred, that I certainly would sign up and register, if you will, for my vaccination, and so we're going to do that. I hope that encourages others out there to at least consider it and ultimately to receive the vaccination. I personally think that there's been enough evidence, at least for me personally, and in science to suggest that it's safe enough for us to take that particular step. Ultimately, you know, it provides a level of protection not only for us, but for the ones that we associate with on a daily basis, namely your family, friends, and loved ones, and those who are particularly vulnerable to succumbing to issues or circumstances relative to COVID-19. So yeah, the moment I do, I'll certainly make sure that I share that with you as well. In conclusion, I'd just like to leave you with a couple thoughts. You know, we're seeing real improvements in the fight, but today I would say that it's certainly nowhere near over yet. We hear about different variant strands that are occurring, and there's been reports that you know, possibly these strands are not as I guess, receptive to, or at least effective relative to, or the virus or the vaccination rather, isn't as responsive to these particular strands. And again, I don't think that, I certainly don't know, and I don't know very many people outside of Dr. Walker, you know, and other medical personnel who have that information and certainly are aware of that. But, you know, I think you sort of have to weigh, you know, a couple of things, and one is from everything that we've heard and experienced down to the loss of life. I think that we can certainly make the assumption that it's better to be safe than to have to deal with the effects of you know, the impact of a COVID-19 virus, particularly if you have underlying or pre-existing conditions that certainly would exacerbate, the occurrence. But in any event, we believe that there still will be surges of new cases, I guess, in short. And unfortunately, I'm sad to say that we can expect that we could potentially lose more of our neighbors to the disease. But again, having a robust, accessible vaccination program is just a great tool for us. And while we're seeing improvements, we still want to keep the mandatory face mask and face covering mandate in place for now. We've eased some restrictions in terms of different businesses and that, but certainly we're going to not go full out and just relax our degree of caution that we've exercised through this process. As a couple of reminders, I want to remind all businesses that your capacity remains at 50% of the total number of people that you can legally fit into your business. Houses of worship, many of them still continue to hold virtual services, but if you've resulted or reverted back to in-person services, we certainly want to encourage you to continue to use good social distancing or safe distancing techniques to space your attendees apart. Finally, I just want to say thank you once again to Dr. Walker and to his entire team and everyone throughout the city for all of the work they've done to help us keep safe. And of course, I have to thank the residents for the city of Gary for adhering to the restrictions, or at least acknowledging them. And for the most part, I believe that most people have exercised extraordinary attempts to try to keep not only themselves safe, but certainly everyone who they engage with. I'm going to say it one more time, and that is if we remain patient and calm, but most of all, we must stick together and watch out for one another, that we will certainly get through this process. I want to, in closing, invite you all to stay on the site for just a little bit longer. I've asked the producers to put up additional information relative to vaccination sites and testing sites and things of that nature. So stay with us for a couple of more minutes, and I believe that you'll find some of the information to be helpful and valuable as well. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time.